Hi, everyone. So excited to be here, and especially with my wonderful panel today. We've got Charles Caldwell, Leslie Flowers, Dave Snell, Catherine Chadwicks, pillars of the LinkedIn collaboration community, always looking to extend and expand our reach in the most positive ways. Today's word of the day is opportunity. We'd love to hear what you think of opportunity or what you want us to share with you about what we think about opportunity. And even if it's just sharing who you are, where you're from, that's a good beginning. With that said, let's move it over to Charles.
Hi, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are listening from. And it's great to hear everybody and to see everybody today. And I just wanted to acknowledge and note that this is the 9/11 anniversary. So just noting that moment my um, empathy, compassion, condolences, and heartfelt expressions for my American colleagues here on the LinkedIn Live as we note that anniversary. Um, so moving on to chaos. I'm calling in from Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, there's a phrase in the Chinese language. There's a phrase for chaos, which is danger and opportunity. The phrase for chaos is danger and opportunity, and what the Chinese often say, I think the word is actually weijie, um, which is often mistranslated into crisis, but actually it means a situation containing both danger and potential. And so, in how that translates into in opportunity or in crisis, there is opportunity, and it's a question of being prepared so that when those crises pop up, the opportunity arises. And later on, I'll share a story about um, uh, an example of that from Edward de Bono's Tactics book.
Okay, well, everybody out there, don't go wait till you hear the story. With that said, let's move it over to our good friend Leslie Flowers, who is so distinguished on LinkedIn, has two shows, Monday and Fridays. She could share with you. And everybody here is available for reaching out after the show if you have a question you forgot or didn't want to share that dramatically. Leslie.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I kind of fill in, I guess, when one of your regulars, I'm figuring it out, is unable to make it. So I'm a substitute. Let's just put it that
No,
way.
you're a guest. Okay.
So, oh gosh, I'm all about mindset. I guess I'm a mindset geek, and I'm a teacher, and I'm an author. And um, when I think of the word opportunity, I think of how I have aspired for years to find an opportunity in every failure, right? Which is based on the law of polarity. So we know
Yep.
that we have wins and losses. What we can't predict, hi, Lisa, I see Lisa here. What we can't predict is exactly by when the matching opportunity will show up. So for me, it's like when something low happens, I immediately look up and start looking for the opportunity to learn, right? The exact opposite. And that helps me not waste time worrying about what just happened, but in the knowledge that there's already something on its way, I better look up. So that's how I'll begin.
That's wonderful. Um, got some people here, as Leslie mentioned. Lisa's here. Thank you for coming to the show today, Lisa. I responded to your connection request this morning, so we are full connections now. We've got Uzman. I hope I'm pronouncing it properly. Good evening, Dalcon. How are you all there? It's nice to meet you all. Chat up your people doing so good work. Best wishes to each and every one of their hearts and other emojis. Well, thank you. Uzman comments every day on every one of my posts, so I have to reach out and recognize. And here we've got Omar. Omar, what a wonderful guy. That came out of a song or something. Do we really know them? Good morning, guys. Nice to see the team again. Nice to see Omar. And Omar's another classic collaborator that engages people on different levels, different shows, and really creates a lot of wonderful imagination around the world, very diverse. We've got another person, Ma Rook. Hi, everyone. Hey, everyone. Great to see you. Charles comes back with a comment. And well, Nicole here. I haven't seen Nicole in a while. Another thought leader on LinkedIn. Very, very visible. I've been on this show, talked to her on Zoom. Just wonderful individual, somebody you really want to know and connect with. Charles, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us. Please tell us from where you are watching, viewing. Great point, Charles, because when I see the numbers of the shows, I see so many more people listening and watching than actually commenting. And here we've got another individual. Well, welcome. So nice to have you. And with that, we'll swing it over to Dave.
Hey, good morning, Don, Charles, Leslie, and Catherine. It's always great to be back. This is a fun hour for me every week. I always look forward to it. Charles and Leslie kind of stole some of my thunder, but I think we're all going to say about the same thing with opportunity. It comes out of chaos or disorder of some sort. And the first thought that I had was yin and yang, building on Charles's Chinese references of within every opportunity, there's chaos, and within every chaos, there's opportunity. There's a little bit of everything, and it is interrelated, and we cannot miss those opportunities, miss those situations where the opportunity may arise for something positive. Hopefully, there's always a possibility for negative, I guess, but we need to be open to and keeping aware of our surroundings as we're going in that circle between yin and yang, instead of just being idly a part of world happening around us.
Okay, I like that. Sounds great. Nicole came back with, thank you for your kind words, Alcom. My BFF, Leslie Flowers, is here. I troll her. And we've got another individual, Lada. Hi, Leslie. Hi, all. And I think that's so important is how we bring people together with each other, not just by ourselves. And I'm always looking for ways to scale and leverage what's already there, but not fully utilized. So anyways, with that said, Catherine.
Well, good morning, everybody. And it is wonderful to be here with all of you on the stage and off the stage. Glad to see everybody. I loved what you were talking about, Charles, in regard to the anniversary of 9/11 and the chaos. And what's fascinating, too, because it is an anniversary day, the high level of energy is still there, right? Because it's an anniversary remembrance, right? And because of the law of polarity and the ability to find the opportunities, to be open to the opportunities, it's actually a beautiful day for coherence healings and things that we can do on a positive level. So I would put that out there as well.
Yeah, I think we're putting a nice package together here, tying all these little elements into something more digestible. When I think of opportunity now, I have to equate it to fun, right? If I'm not going to have fun doing it or fun coming out of it, why did I choose something else that's more quantitative, more add to your stack of whatever that is? And I think that's true opportunity is how do you live your life with joy and love and happiness and engineer it? Not wait for someone to create it for you or for it to show up, but it's choices. And I think all opportunities are based on, first of all, having a vision, right? Where do you want to go? And then figuring out what is that opportunity is going to allow you to take advantage of it. So I think people complicate too many things because they think they need more steps to get to the top. Sometimes it's a 1-2 and you're there. With that said, Charles.
I agree with you. Opportunity is not something you wait for or receive necessarily. It's something that you create, and it's always present. Always an opportunity to create something. So that one way to look at it is a glass half full or the glass half empty. But the story I was going to tell earlier, I actually read about in Edward de Bono's book, Tactics, The Art and Science of Success, which is one of the best business books I ever read. I read it decades ago, but still applicable today. And he interviewed many successful individuals, business people, Olympians, and sports champions. And one was a very, very famous race car driver. And he asked him how he wins. And he was talking about different strategies for winning. But he said, whenever something happens on the racetrack, there's some kind of mishap. What he would do is he would step on the accelerator and he would look for the hole in the pack and he would go through that pack. And the person said, well, that's a terrible way to win. And he says, no. There's only one way to win. And that's that you cross the finish line first. And he was explaining that whenever there's a mishap on the track, everybody will ease off. But until the pace car comes out, you don't have to ease off. Once the pace car comes out, you have to ease off. So I thought that was a very interesting example of seizing opportunity in the middle of chaos and a crisis.
Yeah, I think that applies to so many other areas too. Leslie.
Well, what I heard, since we're talking about Far East and we're dabbling with little things, what I heard about this race car driver is the concept of Kaizen. So he's doing the one small thing, or you could call it large, depending on the law of relativity, that no one else is doing. And that's what developed Think and Grow Rich, the principles of success, or Carnegie's principles of success. And there are dozens of stories that are similar to this, but I think that what I took away from your story, Charles, if I may, is that what made this race car driver a rare success, and the percentages are very low for major success without knowing what you're going to do. Like, he had a certain amount of faith and intuition to push through. He broke through or any fears he had. So all the people that slowed up on their gas, that was fear that automatically took over. But what this driver has taught himself to do is develop an agile mindset. That is, the muscle of will or focus was able to outweigh his natural automatic fear to slow down like everybody. But he was able to outweigh that fear and tell himself, push through. That's very rare, and it takes a lot of practice. So thanks for letting me share.
Well, you bet. I think it's a good definition. Leslie has a comment. While we will never reach perfection, how long does it take to see the lesson inside the failure? Great point. Dave comes back with opportunities don't happen, you create them. Chris Grosser, nice to have a definition. Nicole says, love that. Engineer it, the life we want. And that's really the key beneath opportunity is choice. Dave?
Yeah, I think building on all of this is, it takes intention to seize to see those opportunities that you're talking about.
Time are you going to wait?
The race car driver, Charles, to understand that, again, there's a disorder. We can follow the rule book. The driver saw the rule book and he recognized what everybody else was doing, but he had to analyze. He had intention to do it. And it's not just sitting back. He was, to the quote from Chris Grosser, he was creating an opportunity to not take advantage necessarily, but to assess the situation and see where he could take an advantage and win. And the more that you are able to do so, the more opportunities will present themselves. Just one or two small ones compound themselves over time, that he's able to see that before someone else sees it too. But he's got to be slick about it, if you will, because he can't say, this is what I'm doing outright. He has to be slick with it to make sure he has that advantage and maintains the advantage over time.
Yeah, well put. Hope over fear.
But he did he just excuse me, I want to ask Dave a question. Sorry for interrupting, but he doesn't
Sure, sure.
plan it because that is intuition and he knows the moment, right? That's not something he plans to do, but he's done it and practiced it so many times that it becomes automatic. Would that be a fair assessment, Dave?
I think that's a better question for Charles, but my thought when he mentioned it was someone had to have gone through the rules and understood that this is what the rule states with the pace car. You don't have to decelerate till the pace car comes out. And he recognized that other people were decelerating, so why not? Here's the difference. The pace car between then and the accident, I've got an opportunity. I'm going to seize it by accelerating instead of decelerating. I'm assuming I have to defer to Charles in the story.
Yeah, well, I think you need a discipline, and plus you're race car driving to begin with, right? So you're already in high speed danger, and sometimes I think by having that discipline, you manifest it, right? You find the opening nobody sees, or you're able to continue to continue. Catherine.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because that race car driver had to have a very high level of awareness in order to allow that intuition to come through. And he had the confidence to not hesitate. And I think that that's where many people get hung up, is the hesitation and the fear that Leslie was referring to. Because if you're debating, then a lot of those opportunities are lost.
Yeah, and I think, Wayne Gretzky always had that saying is, great players go where the puck's going to be, other players go to where the puck is, right? So if you can see something no one else sees, or believe in something no one else sees, because, the winner or the champion is the person who could do what others couldn't or didn't want to do. And sometimes it's a matter of work ethic. It's a matter of training. It's a matter of confidence, right? You'll go through anything if you really do believe you're going to make it,
Right.
And it's going to be a harder time trying to go through something you don't believe you're going to make, because it influences everything else, and also all of the way you project around you. Charles.
Yeah, I think that I think, Dave, you're right. The race car driver would see an opportunity and he would go for it until he was told he couldn't go for it. And the contrast would also be the latest F1 movie, which has gotten a lot of buzz. Apparently, the formula for winning in that movie that the team has was actually banned, I understand, based on some sort of accident or something like that happened and came about because of a very, very aggressive strategy of stepping on the accelerator when there were problems and going into the race pit for a pit stop at the same time. But I think the point is, stop seeing problems and start in circumstances and start seeing gifts that are inside the circumstances. And that creates a really significant change for people. And it's an opportunity for people to adapt and to lead. And I can hear two contrasts that are developing. One is the contrast of regular incremental changes, which I understand would be part of the Kaizen discipline. And also overcoming the fear, for sure, is part of that. But then there's another side of it, which is when some people would believe that opportunity is not about incremental increases, daily habits, and so on. It's about really creating the context, and out of creating the context, you create a breakthrough. I think they're both equally valid, and people can look at them, and if they're able to, step on their own accelerator and move into the future, looking at either one of those approaches or a combination of the two, then opportunity will be waiting for them.
Yeah, another great way to characterize it, Leslie.
Well, really, this says to me, what am I looking for? right? What is my intention right out of the gate?
Yep.
So one of the things that I've done over the last 17 years with my programs is teach through repetition how to look for the greatness in others. And every week we would have 7 mantras, which were really about ascribing or where we want to be, having the standards and ideals that we prefer and we agree to. And one of them is, looking for the greatness in others, knowing that first of all, you have to have greatness within you to recognize it in somebody else. Second of all, everybody has it, right? Has both greatness and maybe not so greatness. But what are we looking for? We're very practiced in general looking for what is wrong. And that is based on fear. So once again, all of these things we're talking about in terms of that 3%, if you will, who live a happy, healthy, and wealthy life. They practice doing the thing that they're afraid to do, or were once afraid to do, or don't know how to do, and build that muscle. So it's, if you begin to look for the greatness in others, so I could look at, I could look at Charles, and I could say, he really needs a hat to cover that head. Right. I mean, right. But that's not his greatness. But that's not what I think. What I would think is, wow, he has a whole lot of extra brains than I do. It's very clear to me that when God was passing out heads and brains, you were touched with a larger one. So how do you step out of the gate looking for the best side of everybody first? And that cuts down how much time you're in the grumps. And it's required that you do that your whole life, right? You want to always aspire to do that. You won't be perfect, but you'll be surprised at what happens. The more you find greatness in others, and this is why I acknowledge everyone in my rooms, you'll notice that your own greatness grows, right? That you're more confident, that you're more about lifting others up when you see their greatness, and the byproduct is your own growing.
Well said. To that, we'll get some comments. Jacarati, human tendency is to focus only on black spots rather than the white space and white paper, reason behind fear and failure. Here's another individual. Hello, nice to have you, Rashida, visiting. Well, stay as long as you like. Charles, which approach creates opportunity?
Sorry.
Evolution, steady incremental progress, or revolution, transformation, a radical break from the past? We sure are given a lot of clues as to how one can view opportunity, but more importantly, take advantage of it. And, I think it's the success of things that drives things, not just initiatives in 30 different directions, and nothing has really turned out to be successful in completion. Charles has another great comment. Well, that follows that. And then we've got Omar. Excellent points, Leslie. Well, Leslie's got a fan. So with that said, moving over to Dave, I believe.
Yeah, one last comment that just came in was Nicole's, Charles Caldwell. I think that's subjective to Charles's comment. And that's really where I wanted to build a little bit. I think that if we do an evolution, it can be a compounding effect on opportunity, because you're more likely through practice to see the opportunities, because to Leslie's point, you have a better view of what's happening around you, a more positive view. And as you are more positive happens around you. My dad used to say to me all the time, good things happen to good people. So if you're looking for the good, you're going to find the good and you're going to find the opportunity. Whereas the revolution, you cannot predict when, to the point of 9/11, we could not predict that was going to happen that day. It was, a black swan type event to most of us. There were people who had some inclinations of it, obviously. But out of that came an opportunity for many people. You can't predict the revolution sometimes, is my point, but it does happen. So I think it in and of itself, it's almost a yin and yang of itself, that you have to be aware of both and be ready for both.
Great points. Catherine.
I love that. And I also, I love what we're all saying is that when we are looking for good things, we're apt to find good things, right? And when we look at things on an energetic level, if you're down there with the blame and the anger and the disappointment, those are the opportunities you're going to get, right? Because that's the level of energy that you're on. The level of vibration is always in play. And if you can, find the good things, and they're not difficult to find, right? There's so many good things out there. And when you can live in that playground, then you are, oh my gosh, the percentage of good things that you're going to find is so much greater than if you're down in the dumps. I think that, when good things happen to good people. And I also think that there's a book, the title is When Bad Things Happen to Good People, because the law of polarity that we started off with is always in play as well. And what I think is also important to bring in at this point is the whole study of epigenetics and how our environment also plays a part in our life experience. And we have way more choices in creating our environments than most people take part in.
Yeah, all wonderful points. Charles, we rise by lifting others.
Yeah.
And Ma, yes, totally agree with your perspective. Well, that's great to get some confirmation. And when you look at opportunity, you need to look to others also, right? By learning from others. What do you read? What do you watch? Who do you spend time with?
Right.
Will make a huge difference in your opportunity because of positive sharing.
Yeah.
And I think the key to the future is, how do you build sustainability, right? How do you do something that's going to hold on to what you built and then add to it? Because things are moving way too fast. I saw yesterday, just Oracle gained $330 billion worth of value in one day. Now, what happened the day before to the next day that was worth 335 billion? It brings them up to almost $1 trillion, which makes them 1/4 of the value of NVIDIA, which is 4 trillion, which is 4,000 billions. So I'm not trying to get into numbers, but everything needs to be relative, right? What is a lot of money? Well, compared to who and what? What is a good lifestyle? Again, compared to who and what. So I think by having the right expectations and trying to set the right priorities, because you may be pursuing a great opportunity that has very little value to you, as opposed to other opportunities that could be transformational.
Yeah.
And most people take the course of least resistance, or what they like, instead of what they really need. So I think those are, angles one could look at. And at the end of the day, you grade yourself. How many days do you come with an A and an excellent from yourself? And why not? Either you chose the wrong thing that you didn't do, or you chose the right thing and you didn't do it right. So I think self-reflection, reevaluation makes a difference. Nicole comes back with, I should add, I think there's also circumstantial based on where we are in life and what we are facing.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning revolution, I walked away from my job in February. Radical, not planned. Evolution, wise going into month 7. Each win is built on the last. And I think it has 8 book launches this year since GBW Publishing opened, is the proof of steady incremental progress. Well, good for you. You know, sometimes you got to know when to pivot, when to make the right, when to make the left. You know, and you got to realize every car has a reverse and a neutral gear, right? I think every person has that also. So you can back up, you could stay where you're at for a while, you know. So, you know, I think it's a lot of fun. It's like designing your own life every day. And how do you direct it, produce it, write it, and star in it? Charles.
Yeah, actually, I love Nicole's example because that's an example of both, right? And she changed her context and left her job. And that's a total change in context. And, you know, one of the ways to look at it is a lot of people go through life sharpening the saw, which is an expression that I've looked at, I've used a lot in the past. And you can keep sharpening the saw forever. But what if you don't need a saw at all? Or what if you don't need a knife at all? And and changing the context like that, which Nicole has done, is fantastic. She's decided, I don't need the saw, right? I don't need the knife. I'm going to do something differently. And then out of that, she's taking the action, and which is disciplined, stepping forward. And it also speaks to the fear. A lot of people, they can't change that context because they will face that fear. So that's a great example of both Nicole. And it's also an example of how, you know, opportunity is silent, it's ever present, and it's waiting not to be found, but to be created. And Nicole's created that opportunity for herself. And for many of us, the way to look at it is the door to opportunity swings on the hinges of our own perception. And you change your state and you change what you see, and problems become invitations, and you can walk through that door and accept that invitation.
Yeah, you know, I agree. And it's nice that Nicole has something to point to that lends itself to being successful since then, which are the book launches. So it's, you know, recognizing, congratulating yourself and sharing that accomplishment or opportunity with others. And we've got a comment. What a great analogy, Charles. I put the saw down. It wasn't serving me. I was building for another. And Rashida says, having such open conversations with industry experts and leaders is a different level of satisfaction. Well, thank you very much. With that said, I guess it's Leslie's turn.
There we go. A couple things. So first of all, Nicole, what she did was she did it without knowing how. Now, the greatest tributes to fighting our fears and developing confidence is stepping out when you know it's right to do that, and you have no proof that you're going to have any money. That's the fear of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So the stepping out has to be strong enough to outweigh any one of the 6 basic fears. The other thing I wanted to bring up, sharpening the saw, that is the 7th habit of highly effective people. That is Stephen Covey's work. Mm-hmm. And I would not exclude it from the other 6 because it's really a group of concepts. And sharpening the saw, the minute Nicole, well, actually, she started sharpening the saw for the company before she left her business, right? She had already planted seeds while she was working full time. Mm-hmm. But whatever it was that had her step away, she did not know how she was going to do it. And she had already begun sharpening a new saw, right? To develop, now she's going through all the habits to develop a new saw. The sawing is the repetition that's required for achievement. So I think that's, I wanted to ask, so that has to do with what you said, Charles, and Nicole's point. My point is that the greatest things are done and our greatest achievements when we don't know how to do it, and we do it in the face of fear because we're so compelled that we don't care. It's almost unconditional. The other thing is Donald, when you were talking about doing it right, doing it wrong, according to who? And I mean, this is according to ourselves, every right and wrong is accurate. And then the size of what you're doing is relative. Nothing has any value until we start comparing it. So some people might say, well, this isn't big enough to constitute a win, right? So we are very busy. So the 7 universal laws are really powerful in taking away a lot of the anxiety. For example, we didn't know when 9/11 was going to happen 24 years ago, right? But we were relatively sure it was going to happen. What determines the dates is not us, not unless we're the precipitator. So achievement and you're getting the thing that you're going for is determined by the universe based on the work you do. And one last thing about vibration, because we went all the way around and Catherine was talking about vibration, right?
Mhm.
So what you seek is seeking you. So if you're in a positive mindset, what you want is moving toward you at the same
That's right.
amplitude of cellular vibration you're moving toward it. So that answers in terms of universal laws. Why is it that when we're in a good mood, other people seem to be in a good mood? And when we're not in a good mood, all of a sudden people are coming up to us and they're not in a good mood. That is because you will attract the vibration, and the higher vibration of love and kindness and generosity is who you will attract. So I guess that's enough. I had something to say.
No, I think that really expands the opportunities when you look at it that way. We've got
Mhm.
what a great analogy, Charles. I put this on, wasn't serving, was building for another. And also the point I guess I was making in all of this was there can be growth through both revolution and evolution. Awesome combo, all of you. Well, great. Thank you so much. Dave.
Yeah, I'm going back in my mind to the evolution through, how do we build confidence so that we can see the opportunity? And it's in those little things that we do every day. I think Leslie used the word wins. Where do we find our wins? What can we do to recognize them? And I think, Admiral McCraven had the book and the speech of make your bed every morning, and you start off with a win. It's those little things that create confidence, that build us as stronger people. If you set out to do 2 things in a day and you do 5, then you've done more than you expected, and you can build on those things. But starting out with something as simple as making your bed, you've done at least one thing right for the rest of the day. And if you take that mentality, excuse me, you will find the opportunities because you already started out in that positive mindset, that positive vibration. And then you say, okay, I know I need to get dressed in a certain way. Okay, well, I'm dressed nicely and I've done what I need to do to go to work. And then these little things happen. And even when we see something as a traffic jam as a positive, because it gives me an opportunity to self-reflect, to mentally breathe and focus on my breath work and calm myself instead of getting exacerbated, these are wins. And it presents an opportunity to see the world in a different way. And then it'll come back to us tenfold, I think, is what we're all saying.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of using building blocks from easy, simple wins, but there's still a win. And, I think the other element is that people are too concerned with the reward and not the direction and the work involved or the play involved to achieving it. And you can always be a winner by just judging effort, maybe not always result. Catherine.
I think it's also important to be very discerning and intentional, right? And about what input we allow to actually come in, because there is so much noise out there, and there are so many people that are on a wavelength, on a level of vibration that we don't necessarily want to be, connecting with. And we have a choice as to what we choose to allow in. It's what I refer to as the ultimate mind diet, right? And just because something comes into our mind doesn't mean it's necessarily true. And so it takes discipline and intention to really create the environment that we want to be in. And when we're able to do that, then I believe that we are opening ourselves up to more opportunities that we actually want.
Yeah, that's wonderful. You know, and looking at how you look at what you look at, you know, yesterday was my grandson's birthday, and my whole day was based around that birthday as far as how successful, how enjoyable can you make it from, you know, sending the text message and the birthday card, e-card, you know, buying the gift, meeting all for dinner,
Mhm.
you know, and comparatively, it's like how many arenas do you have to play in to be successful at some things that are given to you? You know, that whole thing, which count your blessings. So many people have more than they use, more than they need, and they spend more of their time trying to get more of it, right? Instead of enjoying what they already have.
Yeah.
And most times, and me and Charles were talking about minimization, the less you have, the more you appreciate what you have because you can see it. You don't have to make a lot of different choices. You know, some of the most successful people in business, especially tech people, they wear one thing every day. You know, if you look at Steve Jobs or some of these other people, why? It saves them time. They don't have to decide every day, and it's comfortable. So, anyways, we've got some more comments here. Charles has the 5-hour rule, dedicating 1 hour each weekday to learning, turning small, consistent investments into transformative growth over time. Sharpening the saw is like maintaining your entire vehicle, engine, fuel, connections, and purpose. So it doesn't break down on the long road ahead. Great way of phrasing it. Absolutely, and felt it still do. The fear is there, but I'd have to shove it aside when necessary and face it at other times. I accept that I will not earn in the beginning what I did, but trust I will surpass it. And, you know, that's giving yourself the time, giving yourself the patience,
Mhm.
you know, allowing things to come together for you. You know, sometimes you press and you push away. Yes, Dave, thank you for this timely reminder. Was stuck in some serious traffic yesterday with getting a book to publication, hands tied. I cooked a yummy meal. Didn't realize I desperately needed the downtime. Great way to see it that way. I forget where I'm at. I think it's Charles.
Mhm.
I'm
It's
here.
Charles.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Reinvention is real change, and as I'm listening to the discussion about comparing the 5-hour rule, which is about little things every single day and constant commitment to learning a little bit every day, compared to reinvention and getting ready for the long road ahead. It reminds me of the Pareto principle, which is also known as the 80-20 rule. And one thing that people can do is they can look into their life at the areas in their life that really excite them, that they love, and then focus in on what 20% of the activities create 80% of the results in those areas of their life. And that's an opportunity for them to become more profoundly efficient and profoundly more effective, but also be focusing on areas where they are excited and get some joy out of what they're doing. And that'll create more opportunity for them.
Well said. Sounds like a lot of confidence around this panel towards opportunity and everybody taking advantage of it. Leslie.
So you want to keep in mind that we're all baby boomers and we're all in a position, every one of us, to make these choices. But for me, it wasn't always that way, right? So it's very nice for us to sit back here, all of us, and say, well, you know, we're doing it this way and life is good. And we can tell you a lot of things that you can do, but make no mistake. You know, I crawled on my belly like a reptile in the mud. There were times, right? And oh my God, when I first started in coaching, I was the worst client because I already knew everything, right? Imagine having a client who knows more than you about everything. Then I met my 17-year-old granddaughter who is exactly the same way. So we are in a unique, what I'm saying here is the five of us have worked at this long enough to tell you that this life can be mostly positive. These are the things that we aspire to do and have been doing for decades. And so all you really need to do is what Charles has suggested, simply be committed to continuous learning. You know, we're all experts. The senior in high school is an expert to the freshman. The fifth grader is an expert to the second grader, remember? So wherever we are on our journey, we are experts to the people who don't know what we know. But at the same time, we need experts who know more than us so we can learn from them. Kind of reminds me of when I first learned to play chess. My boyfriend and I, he taught me how, right? We would sit in the coffee shop and I was beaten over and over and over and over again. One day I beat him. And I was so excited. And he looked at me and he said, now you need another teacher. So let's remember that there are people already on their way to us to learn the things that we know because they're ready and willing. And if we aren't willing to share that, they may never learn it. So I love this group. And, you know, today I'm thinking about not only 9/11, but I'm thinking about the horrible thing that happened yesterday. And to only say that the country is so many intellectuals and intelligent people, I guess I'd like to envision that everybody puts guns down, period. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, put your guns down unless you're hunting for food or protecting yourself. I mean, really, let's pray that around the world, if we could just put those weapons down, and I'll end it there. Thank you for letting me share that.
You bet. Dave.
Well, Leslie, I don't want to be ageist here, but I will point out I am a little bit younger, but I think that I'm not a baby boomer, but I have associated myself with so many that I have gained so much.
But you're missing hair and your hair is gray. So you constitute a boomer. What are you, a Gen Xer? Are you a Gen Xer?
I am a Gen Xer, but I think what I'm trying to get at here is that I've gained enough experience very quickly in the hard ways through crucibles of fire, if you will, in many different ways, through my military experience, obviously, but also through business and life in general. So I appreciate that people do see me as a baby boomer sometimes, but I need to be honest with myself. I'm still a Gen Xer. I've been caught in between generations, but that's an opportunity in and of itself too, because the more I can relate to other people, I can learn from different experiences. That is an opportunity in and of itself. I too am would like to share that, you know, I don't agree with everything that Charlie Kirk had to say, but I took opportunities to learn from what he had to teach us because he gave us a balance to learn from. And if we lose that discourse like we have here, to agree, disagree, it doesn't matter. That's what our nation was founded on. And weapons aside, just the natural tendency to be violent with or without a gun is disturbing that our political discourse has come to that. And I appreciate being able to come here and have, while today has been mostly on the same level, and we've agreed that out of chaos comes opportunity. We have to have intention. We haven't always agreed, but we've done it respectfully, and that's an important piece. So I'll just say my piece on that.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful, Dave. And I think it puts a lot of things in perspective for a lot of people. Catherine?
It's interesting because I think we've all gained wisdom, regardless of what age we are, through the hardships, through the downfalls, through being knocked down to the bottom. And it's just like, wow, okay. I mean, I remember after my first hospital job, and my back fell apart. I had no money. I had no place to live. I was sleeping on a friend's couch. And so, once you go through something like that, you go, oh, okay. So I'm not going to stay here. And what steps can I take, right, to move myself forward? And it does actually build a lot of confidence. And that upward spiral was a lot of smaller steps, one after the other, one after the other. It wasn't like all of a sudden one day, I'm back at the top again, right? But what's fascinating, because of that law of polarity, just because you get to the top doesn't mean you're not going to go back down to a certain level at some point, right?
Exactly. And you make a wonderful point there, in that one has to have gratitude and appreciation for what you have done, what you have achieved, all the quality, all the wonderful experiences, the relationships. You got to give yourself a bank balance, right? So when you take a little hit or a big hit, you just debit it from all the reserve that you built up, whether it's goodwill or just looking back at pictures and remembering the good times. So, you can't look at things in a vacuum. You need to put it all together and put the best light as possible on yourself. When you get ready to go out, you want to look a little bit better if you can. And it's the same thing in life, is you gotta show success. You gotta project it. You can't just tell people that. And people sense it. People sense confidence, enthusiasm, excitement, because they're always questioning themselves, right? And if you can be more certain and you can demonstrate a better approach to things, people will listen. Looks like we've got quite a few comments here. Financial crises are the worst crisis, which could be a cause of fear to stepping out for some people. Good, Dave. From one Gen Xer to another. Leslie says, out of confusion comes order. The confused mind takes no action. Dave, I guess I see us all as the same. And Leslie says, that's the fear of poverty. Okay. Where am I next? I guess Charles.
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Sorry, I was
Excellent.
momentarily on mute there. Yeah, I think that the conclusion that we're coming to, life is the greatest opportunity, and it's an amazing gift for us, and it's a rare ocean for us to all cross. And don't wait for opportunity to come to us. What we can do is go out and create those opportunities through the different lenses that we've discussed, whether that's the small daily practices and habits, or whether it's through a massive revolution. The opportunity is out there waiting for us.
Well, that's very positive and important for people to take into consideration. Leslie.
Find the good in everything.
Yes.
I mean, and no matter what is happening, whether it's a person, a situation, there is so much that we don't know. And how dare us judge others based on the small amount of information that we have? So, it's really about attempting to be objective, right? To actually control our emotions and our fears long enough so that we can think through these things strategically. And boy, this has been fun working with you guys. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. I love discernment because we are in a sensory overload of information. We are bombarded, and people who know NLP, and I'm no NLPer, okay? But I do know that of the thousands of ideas that we get through our five senses every day, only a few are relevant to us, right? So those are important to us. But even then, we don't always get it right. We misunderstand, even with the things that are relevant to us. So just because those few, and then the rest are all skewed up. So there's a lot of information that does come through, but it needs some work. We need to process it, right? And we do that through repetition. Great panel today. This was fun.
Well, you're part of the great panel, so
That's right.
greatness to all of us. Dave?
Yeah, I'm reminded from what you said, Leslie, of the great and wonderful Ferris Bueller. The world moves pretty fast. Sometimes you got to slow down and look around. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but you have to understand what's going on around you and enjoy it. And take some time to take that sensory overload, analyze it, looking for opportunities with intention. We've said that word several times. It's a matter of processing and coming out with an expectation of what we want for ourselves in the future. And so many of us get locked into, and I'm very much a proponent of, the now and where am I now, not worrying about the future, but planning is a different perspective. And that's the intention. What do I want? And looking, because I've taken that now and said, I'm going to be positive, and I've built on that over time, that I will find the positive outcomes and the opportunities that will present themselves over time. But it starts with intention and stopping that sensory overload, that world going by us pretty fast, and enjoying what we have to see the opportunities that present themselves.
Sounds like a plan. I'm there. Catherine?
As you were talking, as everybody's been talking, what came around just now again to me was when we can be mindful, when we can be present, to be part of this natural world that we are. And Charles, you brought up earlier about development of all elements of ourselves, the body, mind, and the spirit, and recognizing the and participating in the natural elements that we're all a part of. That, I believe, is what really opens up the opportunities to us.
Great summation. And an idea that comes to me is, how do you score, right? And if you give every positive 2 points and every negative 1 point, right, where is the equation? Or a lot of people get a negative 2 points and the positive 1 or no points, because, it's just like the kid that comes home from school and has a B+, right? And someone says, well, it's not an A, you came close, as opposed to going up from an F to a B+ and saying you're 4.5 levels above, failure. It's how you define it. That's how you realize it.
That's right.
And it also should tell you that when you're looking to score, follow the score. If you're getting 2 points for good things and 1 point for negatives, you want more points, do more good things, and also people spend too much time on the score. If you're on the field, the game plays, the scoreboard follows. Looking at the score is going to take you away from the game. And sometimes you get a prize you never thought you'd win because you didn't get the prize you were hoping for. And you end up with a better success and a better prize. And trust yourself to trust yourself, right? Because you can always go back and do what you used to do, think what you used to think, but many times you add to what you had, and now you have a better whatever. And like I say, if every day is a gift, you start out winning, right? You can choose to do anything, almost. And if you can't do it directly, you definitely can do it through video, right? If you want to go to Italy right now, there's 100 ways to do it on YouTube. And I guess it's designing your life that allows you to be opportunistic in a positive way, because I think another theme that we had is sharing today, helping others, improving society, raising consciousness and awareness. I think we've got another comment from Nicole. Nicole has been very, very proficient today with bringing a lot of conversation, participating in the natural elements we are all part of, mind, body, and soul. Kathy Chadwick and Donald will always give me an A because I'm going to keep doing more good things. And, you know, that's another thing. If we can't do it, can we help other people do it who are ready to do it, who are close to succeeding? And I think that's where the collaboration comes in, is let's finish everybody's success together, right? Let's get you over the hump, you know, and then you can go out and do more. And I think the goal is you're never going to change society as a whole, but peer-to-peer, person-to-person is dramatic, right? 10 people get together, divide the world by 10. That's how much less you have to deal with. So with that said, we're a little bit over, but I'm glad to be over when it was just flowing so well. Took a simple word like opportunity, created so many ways of looking at it. But every time we create something for everybody, we also just create it for ourselves. It's like baking cookies. So with that said, thank you all. Come back in a week. We'll do it again. And go out there and take advantage of an opportunity that you've been thinking about, hoping for. And today is the day you're going to take